Hi guys, my name is Tatiana and you're watching the YouTube channel You Can. Today I want to share with you how to plant tomatoes. So tomatoes are a very warm-loving plant. It's said that they come from South America. And I have some tomato plants right here that have been grown in a greenhouse to this size. We live in central Pennsylvania, zone 6B. The season here is too short for the tomato plant to mature, bear fruit before the frost kills it. So if you live in any climate that's cooler, you will need to get tomato plants at a greenhouse or start your own in February, end of February, beginning of March. But right here I have a tomato. It's called a mortgage lifter. It's a red tomato, an heirloom variety that we have tried last year, and it did a really good job with production. Grows red tomatoes, round, and the name mortgage lifter comes from it producing so many fruit that people were able to pay off their farm mortgages pretty much by just growing these tomatoes. A little history on that. So here, in order to plant the tomato, I need to create a space. Even though we have a raised bed here, we have used soil that was originally here, which was mostly clay. We added a little bit of mushroom mulch over the years, the 3 years that we've been here. We've had wood chips decomposing in this bed from 2 years prior, but the soil here is still kind of compact and clay, more clay. Tomatoes don't exactly mind that. Above ground crop plants like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant have very extensive root systems. So as their roots grow, they pretty much break up the clay soil and help change your clay soil into more of a plant-friendly soil. So in order to fluff the soil up, I'm going to use this tool. I really like it. It comes in really handy. We got it at our local tractor supply store. So I'll dig the soil up a little bit and fluff it up as I go using this forked part. So if you come across little bunches of weeds, you do want to get rid of those, because as you fertilize and water the plant, your tomato plant, those weeds will grow as well, and you'll just have to pull them later. So pull out any roots and weeds that you can come across. And as you can see, there's earthworms, lots of earthworms here. That's a really good sign. It means that the soil has worm castings in it, which are really good for plants too. So the reason for such a deep hole for a tomato is I will be planting the tomato up to here into soil. The stem will go underground, and all the parts of the stem that are covered with soil will grow roots, making this tomato plant much stronger than it would have been if I would have just planted it in up to here into soil. So I will pluck off these bottom leaves, and I will measure to see if the tomato plant will be covered high enough with the soil. If not, I'll dig a little bit deeper and measure again. Yes, that depth is enough to cover the tomato plant, the tomato stem up to here. So before I plant, I will put a handful of fertilizer into the hole. So we're using the Epsom organic tomato tone. It used to be Job's organic tomato fertilizer. I don't know if they just changed the name recently, but this is the package we have. Really good fertilizer. We've used it last year. It's really good. Does a really good job. So I have about that much in my container, and I'll put it into the little hole, and I will mix the soil with the fertilizer. You never want to leave the fertilizer in one bunch and just set the tomato plant on top of that. It will burn the tomato leaves. So I will push down some of the soil from the top, and I'll just mix it really well, the fertilizer and the soil together. Once I see that the fertilizer is mixed in the soil, I scoop out the dirt, I place the tomato into the hole, and I push the dirt down. So I've planted the tomato plant. Now I will create a little divot in the soil. As you can see, like it looks like a little bowl around the tomato plant. The reason for that is, even though we will mulch this with wood chips or with grass clippings, in the heat of the summer when there's more dry than wet weather, we will be watering these tomatoes. And if everything's flat like this, or even hilled up to the tomato, I will be pouring water and the water will be running off and away. I don't want that to happen. I want the water to stay around the tomato plant. So I will create a bowl out of this soil around the tomato. That way, when I pour water to water it during the dry season, or when it's dry in the summer, the water will not run off and away from the tomato. So if you're planting more than one tomato, how far should you plant tomatoes from each other? There's different literature, gardening literature out there that says, 2 feet or 28 inches. We've noticed that as long as we have good spacing, like 3 feet spacing between rows, it doesn't really matter how close we plant the tomatoes, they still produce well and they don't mold, they don't rot, because we have air movement going from side to side. So if we have a single row of tomatoes planted about this far apart, I think this is roughly 20 inches, they're going to do just fine. Now if you're planting a second row and you don't have a lot of space and you will plant the second row within like 3 feet or closer than 3 feet, you do want to space them further apart, because it's the air movement through the tomatoes that helps keep different diseases away from the tomatoes. A lot of them, not all of them. So for the next one, I will do exactly the same thing I did for the first tomato. Digging a hole, making sure that I dig it deep enough so that the tomato can be covered, the stem of the tomato can be covered deep enough. To see if the tomato, if the hole is deep enough for the tomato plant, just a little bit more. That's deep enough. I'll take some fertilizer. Roughly about that much, and make sure that I mix the soil and the fertilizer together, pushing some of this soil down to create a good mixture. Plucking the 2 bottom leaves off, placing the tomato into the hole and covering it up. Some wood ash here, and it is good to mix it into the soil just like you would fertilizer, but I forgot about it. So I'm going to just put it over top and work it in with my fingers into the soil a little bit. Wood ash is really beneficial for garden soils because it makes the soil more alkaline, and when plants grow in a more alkaline soil, they tend to have a lot less diseases, and the fruits are a lot healthier and tastier. So because I forgot to put it into the soil when I was putting the fertilizer in, I'll just work it into the top here. It's going to be fine too. It's as long as you work it into the soil and don't have it laying around in clumps, it will do the job. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.